Welcome to the Disability Adventures podcast. I'm Andrea Anderson.
And I'm Chip Dodd from Team Disability.
Here we are. We are getting ready to go to the Adventure Racing World Championship next week. In fact, this time next week, next Thursday, we'll be on a plane for South Africa. We are super excited. It's our last big race of the year. It's going to be our longest race ever. But in the meantime, we thought we could squeeze in a mailbag episode. We've gotten quite a few questions, and we narrowed it down to a few that we thought people would be interested in. And we wanted to start off with this one. As a lead navigator, specifically during trekking sections, how do you keep your teammate actively involved so that they don't feel like they are a follower? I think I try to make sure I communicate as much as I can about what we're doing, where we are, what we are looking for, how far away things are, etc. But in the end, there are times when non-navigating team members are just following. During bike and paddle sections, it's easier for teammates to be involved, continuing to paddle or leading, drafting on bike, but there's not much for them to do during trekking. Is there something I can do or assign them to make them more involved during treks? And I just want to preface this by saying this is in regards to a multi-day race with probably fairly long legs. So since this person is asking as a lead navigator, it seems to make sense for you to go first, Chip. What do you think? What should a navigator do?
Oh my God. This is a really good question, and it's something I think every team struggles with. So I was excited that he took the time to put in so much detail. And my answer is it depends. But let's keep it focused on expedition length races. Because it's a little like when you're in a short and fast 8-hour race, like we ain't got time to freaking discuss everything. Like let's just move really fast. But the expedition races, as you know, those legs can be really long. You're not at high heart rate. I mean, for most of us that are not, trying to aim for the podium, you're just going for 24 hours on your feet, or maybe 3 days like Paraguay. Like, oh my God, you're just trying to keep your brain active. So I can see it where the nav does need to start discussing with the team, because it's just boring because you're just walking along a long dirt road or whatever. So we've got there's a lot of things I want to get into on this, so there's not going to be an easy answer to this question. First of all, and we did this in Colorado, and I think we're getting better at this, where the navigator is, so the quick answer, the navigator is communicating what's happening on their own terms. And what I mean like that is there's nothing more frustrating when you're sitting there trying to noodle through a problem and somebody keeps chirping, hey, when's the next checkpoint? How far do we got to go? And where are we? And it's like, God, just let me concentrate. Just, so the idea, I love it when the nav, or what I'm trying to do is when I want to talk, like let's say you're just walking down a road and you're going to be walking for 10 minutes, you're looking for an intersection on the right. Then I'm saying, hey guys, this is what's going on. We're doing this, we're doing that. We're looking for this on the right. Like the caller said, you do want to communicate what's going on, because there's nothing more boring than just following a navigator that's perfectly quiet and you have no idea what's coming. That's very frustrating for teams or people that are following. So I do try to communicate what's going on as best I can, and I try to elicit the team's help in doing things. I kind of maybe give people a job. It's like, okay, guys, we're looking for an intersection on the right. So if I'm looking at the map and I miss it, call it out. Like, just if you see anything coming up, any trails or anything that might be obscure, please let me know. Or altimeters is a great example. None of them are really that accurate because they're all using barometric pressure. So the idea is that a lot of times I'll have anybody with a navigator on the team, hopefully more than two, say, hey guys, we're going to be cruising down this spur. Once we get around 500 feet or 5,000 feet, whatever the number is, let me know, so that, we're getting close to the CP. And then once you get there, then everybody can say, hey, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? Because sometimes there's a 10, 20, percent difference on each person's altimeter. So that's a way to engage the teammates. So those are a couple of the quick things to keep people engaged. Pace counting is another one. either pace counting or, for example, on the bike, if it's like, okay, everybody, reset your bike computer on this intersection. So I love it that our team is so experienced that almost everybody knows, like, these are things that we automatically do. We're always going to set our bike computer at an intersection because that's just how we roll. That's part of our nav process. Another thing is to split up the roles. For example, a lot of times Caitlin does this for us where she's got the race book. She's got the overall logistic plan of the entire race. I'm up there navigating, trying to, hunt and peck checkpoints. I'm not really paying attention to when do we need to get to this next TA to move on? And do we need to skip a point or not? And so Caitlin a lot of times takes on that role of the adult in the room and to say, when do we need to give up and move along? And so that's a great role to have. Also, when people say, what's the clue? The nav doesn't have to fumble around with things, where the person with the race book can have the clues.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a second because I feel like you're touching on something that we don't want to gloss over. I think, like, you kind of naturally, and I think this questioner thought as well, like, you become like the de facto team captain because everyone's asking you, because the person with the maps, seems to have all of the information, or the most, they know where you're going, and you kind of just automatically defer to that person. But if the roles are separated out enough where everybody knows what everyone's doing, they don't necessarily have to ask you. They could be asking someone who's in charge of the logistics, how much further, or something that we want to get better at is the logistics person timing things, like just even talking about, it took us 20 minutes to get from this CP to that CP. The next CP should take us another 20 minutes, and almost maybe could be a little bit of kind of like the shield between you and the rest of the team. Like, ask the logistics person before you ask Chip. But of course, depending on the atmosphere, you don't usually mind being asked, but you definitely have gotten kind of short with people who are like, I don't know how far. Because if someone asks you, well, how far do you have to go? You actually probably have to stop your thought process and think about where you are, and it just adds time. So, are those questions things that you should be fielding, or should someone else be fielding? And of course, you want to be in the habit of telling, communicating everything as you go anyway. But you shouldn't be the only person answering questions or keeping track of things. And so I just want to say there's like some pros and cons to the involvement of the rest of the team in the framework of navigation, because ideally, and probably this is more geared towards shorter races, but if you want to go fast, you got to just trust your navigator and go, right? Like, that's the fastest. Of course, that can backfire when the navigator is, off and they need
They're
help.
fighting sleep monsters.
Well, yeah, they're like, well, how can I help if I haven't seen the maps? You haven't told me all these, little things can turn into big things kind of quick. But I just think it's good to say, there's pro and cons to being involved or not. And I often probably find myself having to shut myself off, like knowing that my involvement might not be productive. So a lot of times, if you're not the navigator, you really do just have to follow, and you definitely have to decide when is the best time to interrupt and what you can contribute to. Like you said, you can be a pace counter, you can be watching the compass, you can be the one in charge of the rule book or the timing or the altimeter, and even multiple people could be doing that.
Race mom.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Like, if a lot of times I feel like I become kind of the communicator role because I'm just naturally like that in my family, but I think someone should be looking out for everybody. And so, you might think they're just following, but if they're having a deep conversation and they don't need to be involved with the navigation, then why not just for a little while let whoever's not navigating have a little bit of a break and try to have some fun with the other teammates. It's always nice when there's a couple of sets of maps too, and then you can feel like there's even more involvement. So I know, like, in what race did we have 2 sets of maps? Anyway, it's just really helpful that like you could be the lead nav and I could be the secondary nav, and whoever was not with the maps could look at mine, so it's not interrupting you. And we're all like talking about all of the more minor things, and you've got the hound dog approach. Anyway, what else?
Yeah, all good points. You the times that I get short is usually when somebody asks me a question that it's not really the question that they want to know, but I take it literally. They would say, how far until the next checkpoint? Well, that checkpoint might be off the map. So now I've got to flip my maps. I mean, a lot of these big expeditions, you got 26 maps, and it's like, I don't care. This is the route. I'm just following the route. Like, I don't know where the TA is. It's on 2 maps from now. I'm not going to pull all my shit out and measure it. So the idea is like, that's not really the question that they were asking. What it is, I left them, this is what I think is happening. I unfortunately left them in I don't know anything. So there's this huge void, and nobody wants the void. They want to know something. Give me a reference point or something. And so that's where I think we as nav make the error that we're letting them ask questions on their terms when we should give them the information on our terms, like I said before. So the idea would be, let's say the logistics person, if this is a 12-hour leg and they know that we're 6 hours in, hey guys, we just passed 6 hours. That's probably 6 more hours. How's everybody feeling? And then count it down. Now we're at 4, now we're at 2. Or, hey guys, we're moving a little slower. I thought we'd be at this checkpoint by 6 hours in, but we're only at 4.5. So either we got to speed up or we need to be mentally prepared for a 15-hour leg instead of 12. Time is probably the better way to say, how long do we have? Because now you have a reference point that it's around 4 hours until I get to take a break. I get to TA or yada, yada. So when they say, how far do we have? I don't think they mean, give me 12.5 kilometers. That's probably not what's in their head. They just want to know, like, give me something. And
well, I wouldn't mind that specificity. But you're right. I think they just want something. But if there's anything that a navigator hates being asked more, it's probably, how much further or something like that. But if there's any answer someone hates just as much, it's, I don't know.
Exactly. Like, I have no clue. It's off the map. Yeah, exactly. That's where it's like, especially on day 5, and you get these questions that children ask in the back of your car on a long road trip. You're like, just watch the damn video and shut up. But I don't know. It's fun. These are the things that teams have to get through. Is like, you're tired, you're frustrated. Maybe the nav is hard, and you're really trying to noodle through a problem. The last thing you need is people asking you some questions. Either way, I would say let's all just work a little harder to get in the habit of sharing that information, whether it's time-based, distance-based. What are we looking for next? That's a lot of times we get that question. Give me something I'm looking for. We're looking for a stream crossing, a trail intersection. Got to get over this ridge line. Give me something. And I think that's where the navs mess up, is we don't give them something. Just give them something that they know what they're expecting, and what's the next 2 hours of their life going to look like. Maybe the next time, refill water. That's another one. I could say, hey guys, conserve your water. We're going to go up and over a ridge. We're not going to have water for a while. How's everybody doing on water? Do we need to stop now, or can we wait 2 hours? But that way people understand we're going to go up and over a ridge, just give them something.
Yeah, I think also, every teammate wants to feel valued for something, right? And they don't want just a giveaway job. Like, none of them really are, but say you tell someone, tell me when we've gone 100 meters, and there's no reason for that. Like, well, don't just give me a throwaway job. Give me something that's important. But if that's the case, and they're just kind of needing to do something, and it's not navigating, the others can be problem solving for things ahead of time. Like, what should we do at the TA? What should our strategy be with once we get there? How many points should we try to get? Just having those sorts of conversations. If you're in a trekking leg and the nav is doing this thing and you're not necessarily needed, think about things to problem solve. And
also things like and I think Bend Racing does it, where they're like, every certain number of time we're going to fix our feed or whatever, like that logistics person would also be, hey, how are you guys doing on feed? Got any hot spots? Okay, we got 2 or 3 hot spots. Hey, Nav, we probably should find a place to stop in the next 15, 20 minutes to fix our feet, maybe refill water, whatever. But letting people know we're going to get a break to do stuff, whether it's change a layer, fix feet, put on some lube, whatever. But that could be a very important role on the thing, because if the Nav's feeling good, Nav just want to keep going, get these checkpoints as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the team's, going to melt down on something. Something's breaking down.
Yeah, I mean, keeping an eye on everybody and making sure, everyone's in tip-top shape is really great. I also think, though, there's probably a time when teammates that are not navigating are, having conversations, or, they just stop being involved in the actual racing. And sometimes that's perfectly fine, and it makes the mood a lot better and more fun. Sometimes that will contribute to getting lost, because then the navigator is, also kind of in on the conversation a little bit here and there, and it starts to get a lot of fun. But I do think an important thing that even if you're conversing and you don't feel like you're doing anything to contribute at the time, pointing out things that you're seeing, I think are always important, because you can't assume that the navigator is seeing everything, particularly like if there's a little trail, like just saying, did you see that trail? Any nav should not be offended by someone saying, did you see that? Did you see that?
Especially when not half the time, sometimes that little trail on the right is a full out dirt road, and other times it is an overgrown mess of crap and you miss it quick. And so and that's where the nav needs to say, hey, we're looking for something on the right. Tell me anything that stands out if I miss it.
Yeah. Or even, did you notice we started going south now, and you said we were supposed to be going north? What happened? Something like that. So I think in our team, you're usually really good at that. We get to a point, and then you're like, okay, we're going to do this for that long, and we're going to go in this direction. This is the topo you should be recognizing. This is around what altimeter. So you try to basically talk out loud through your own thought process. So it's not hindering you, but it's having things that are just in your head actually be out of your head. And so hopefully a navigator just starts to look at it that way, as basically kind of like talking to themselves, but out loud to all the rest of their team.
Yep.
So,
and not only sight, but listening. Like, remember in Florida, like we were using the sound of the frog ponds. How far have we gone on this northern trail that we were walking for hours and hours and hours? And we could like count the frog ponds. Like, guys, the minute we get to the frogs on the right, we're getting close to the checkpoint, you never
know when an observation like that is going to be helpful. Like, hey, I hear frogs.
Yeah. Or water. That's another one. Water makes noise. If it's in the mountains where it's rapids, like, okay, we're going to go and, or let's say we're going to be following the stream. All of a sudden you stop hearing the water. Hey guy, I don't hear the water anymore. Are we sure where we, you said we would be along this stream. So, that type of thing's really, really helpful. So not just the sights, but the sounds as well.
Yeah. And just one last thing, I think I kind of touched on it, but I just don't think the nav should feel responsible necessarily for the experience of the whole team. Like that's, everybody plays a part, and, the navigator shouldn't necessarily also be, the team captain, like you are a lot of the times, but they shouldn't always be,
Yeah.
I guess I
made that clear. And the other thing, really, what you're fighting is boredom, right? So it shouldn't be the job of the nav to entertain everybody while they're going, other than obviously giving them something to look forward to, or just to fill the void. But the other thing is, like when we did this one time, I think this was with which race was it? It was one of the local short races, but basically everybody agreed, like, we're going to go on and look up jokes, like fun jokes. We're going to like memorize 10 jokes. And so I went to that dad jokes website where the two people try to make the other person laugh and they get points. It wasn't really dad jokes. A lot of them were pretty dirty, but man, that kept us entertained. Like we kept going around and telling jokes, and just some of them are raunchy, but it really kept our brains engaged. So that could be another role of not, so it doesn't all fall on the nav, but if there is a section where everybody could tell jokes or tell stories or sing songs or whatever, that can keep people entertained on really long trekking legs.
Yeah, agreed.
So, okay. that was a great question and fun conversation. I hope that's helpful.
So moving on, this question comes from Kylie Ormisher. She's on Moon Howlers. So they're local racers, friends of ours, at least Brian Menard is. I'm not actually sure. I don't think she lives near us, but her question is this. Looking for your expert opinion. That's funny.
We're experts.
It's already funny.
Mid-pack experts.
Yeah, I don't consider us experts, but we're getting there. I have yet to find a comfortable short pant to wear when biking long distances. What do you typically wear and suggest? So we've gotten that question before from others as well. You want to start?
Like all of my answers, well, it depends. Everybody's body is different. And so all I can do is share my experience and my current setup. And if somebody else has some ideas, I'm willing to try anything because I'm always up for changing my mind if there's a better option. Okay, so if we're starting with me, I am a big fan of covering your legs top to bottom unless you are positive that you are not going to be bushwhacking through stuff that tears up your legs. And the reason for that is I've done both. And I just have so much more confidence when I can bulldoze through stuff running. I'm not worried about briars. I'm not worried about getting everything shredded. I'm not worried about nettles as much. Nettles are like stinging things that are usually near water, at least in Virginia they are. And, I just feel really good covered up, even when it's hot. But, you do have to wear stuff that's like wicking and nothing cotton, so basically workout clothes. I'm also a big fan of wearing clothes that are tight versus pants. Pants, especially on the bike, they tend to bind up on your knees. And normally pants have I wouldn't call them bell bottoms, but it's big enough that junk gets caught in your chain and can be all kinds of problems. So if you wear pants, then you have to figure out a way to either bring your sock up over your pants to keep it away from your chain, or what's your solution to the pants on a bike?
Well, so, I mean, it depends, but usually, yeah, I'm wearing leggings. I just wear regular leggings. I have some from lots of different places. I'm not picky about that. And I think, she was asking specifically about the bike, and I think the obvious problem is, you're on your butt, and there's a lot of movement there, and I think avoiding chafing is more important than avoiding the discomfort of the weight of your body on the seat. If you know what I'm saying, it's going to be uncomfortable at some point, at some distance. You're going to be like, I don't want to be on my seat anymore. But if it's just pressure pain, like if you're sitting on your seat bones, to me, that's more tolerable than chafing pain. And chafing is, for me, it seems like a result of things being wet and rubbing. Like the rubbing, that's not so great either, but you can usually, use some chamois butter or some A&D cream, and you can kind of make the rubbing not so bad. But then once you add water in that, it just makes things even worse. And so I think when you have padded shorts, that the pad keeps the water in and makes the chafing even worse. So I don't use a pad. I sometimes will take an extra pair. I mean, I do have some that I wear really occasionally, but I usually don't. And so then I usually also wear shin gaiters, like you said, for any bushwhacking, because you never know, even in a bike leg, if you're going to be bushwhacking or not. You don't know how far the point's going to be off the trail. And the other thing, if I need protection from the cold or water and I need to put on my rain pants, like you said, it's kind of a hassle because your knees bind up. But I either put the shin gaiters over my rain pants. So those Moxie gaiters that zip up on the side. I sometimes tuck my pants into those. But if I don't want to do that, I also have a Velcro strap that I just wrap around the bottom of my rain pants if I need to go that direction. So yeah, Trip, if you're watching on YouTube, is sharing the screen that shows the Moxie gaiters that have the zip up on the inside of the leg. I really like those. I know they can be hard to fit for some people if you have big calves or an odd fit. It might not be the ones for you, but I really like them.
Yeah. So Moxie is spelled Moxie. So it's Moxie Gear Shin Gaiters. If you put that into Amazon, you can find them. They're listed for $52. They used to be about 20, thanks to inflation.
Oh yeah.
They do have a large number of sizes. They have small and small slim fit or small wide fit, and all the way through to large wide fit. So but nice thing with Amazon, you can get whatever you think. They do have a sizing chart on here, and if you get them and they don't work, you just send them right back. But you definitely want them to be comfortable. But you also want them, they are elastic, so they'll go around your calf, and if you get the right size, they don't slide around. They're very durable. The fronts are kind of like a shin guard, like you get with soccer, not with the plastic in it, but it's enough to where sticks and things aren't gonna hurt your shins. And on the back, it's kind of a very meshy kind of. It's there to dissipate heat and not be heavy. So does have a zipper that goes full length. The new Moxie Gators have a zipper full length, so that you don't have to put it on like a sock. You can truly just put it beside your leg and then attach it. I'm a huge fan of these as well. You'll probably never see me in a race without them, and I wear them the whole time. I always have my shins protected, because usually there's bushwhacking or usually it's cold. And these are kind of a thermal barrier as well. So I'm a huge fan of these.
I'm surprised to see those new sizes. That I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, they've changed them out. Remember the old days, the Moxie Gators had a tie at the top, so they weren't as expandable or elastic, and then you had to actually tie them. I used to just cut the ties off because I didn't need them, but these new ones are elastic and they got that full length zipper. So I really like these. I've almost never thrown out a pair. I had one where the zipper got torn, but I think it was because I got hung up on something, so it was my fault. User error.
So you didn't say much about the pants you wear.
To have
a pad or not have a pad.
I figured you were talking about Moxie Gators. So I figured I'd bring it up on the screen. Okay, so the pad, I think, let's say for somebody that's new to adventure racing, you're not used to being on your bike for 5 hours or 8 hours or 48 hours. And yeah, your ass is going to hurt. It takes time to build up your seat bones. All of us have seat bones. And basically what it is, there's these two little bones that end up on your seat. And after you've trained those seat bones to take the weight of not only you, but your pack, if you ride your bike enough, eventually your pain will go away, unless you're on the bike for 24 hours or something. All of us have pain at enough thing. But day to day, I've built up my seat bones since 2018 was the last time in that Belize race. That was the last time I wore a pad, because I forgot to put on my padded shorts for the second bike leg, which was a monster bike leg. And I realized at the end, although the pain got bad, it stopped at some point, and it never got worse. And it was tolerable. It was just annoying, but it was tolerable. I was like, wait a second, it's been hurting the same for 7 hours or something. Then I realized, this isn't that bad. I can get through this. Never wore them again.
And of course, I mean, it's also a little bit of a given, but your seat itself is really important. The way it's positioned and if it's fitting your body correctly. So, the seat I use is just the specialized seat that came with my specialized roomer, which was a female 29er. I don't have that same bike anymore, but I still have that original bike seat because I just like how it fits and feels. And tilting it one way or another. I mean, if you're tilting it with the front down a little bit, you might be more inclined to actually feel your sit bones. So like it might be slightly different for men than women, but you just want to make sure you're feeling that you're kind of sitting back on your seat bones and not on your girly parts. And if you're able to stay on your seat bones, then you're going to have less pain. Anyway, either way, there's also that eventually you have this ability to just move a little bit one way or another way to alleviate pain from one place. And I think that's kind of a lot later in the race when you're like, oh, it hurts too much to sit that way. So I'll sit that way and then that way. And it's amazing how you can change around just the very littlest movement to that goes for your feet and your shoes too. Like you can start doing things, just really micro changes to help help feel better.
Yep.
But
so
yeah.
Worst thing, and I know we're supposed to be talking about clothes and not bike seats because we may have covered this in another topic, but whatever you do, don't go buy like a big padded bike seat. Like that's the worst. Like you want to get your seat bones is there. That's taking the load. And the minute you get a padded seat, the padding is going to kind of surround your seat bones. And that's where you're going to get all kinds of chafing and it cuts off circulation and all of that. So I would recommend away from that.
Well, it's the same premise though. You're giving a padding to something. It's just if you're using a pad on a bike seat, it's less form to your body. Yeah. So I think that would be, that'd be even worse, in other words, for chafing and for staying wet. Yeah.
So, but I'll put a caveat on that. If you're new to racer and you're a bigger person, then maybe you need a bigger seat. That's the other thing. It's like, I'm kind of a standard, 6'1" male that weighs 175 pounds. And so any seat that comes on my bike fits my body fine. I don't have a problem. But I think each person's different. Each person's parts are different. Your width is different. And so definitely check out the seats. But basically, if you can't tolerate the seat without padding, do the bike pants padding first before you try to get the bigger bike seat. It's always do the pants first and see if you can tolerate the pants. It's only a little thin piece of padding in your back. It's just not even a 1/4 inch. They make them different sizes, but start with that first before you go buy the big old padded bike seat. But that is an option if it's the best thing for your body.
And we didn't talk much about padded shorts, even though we both have owned them. So we don't have a lot of advice on that, except that I would say, a lot of times a pad will help you avoid seams. So seams are also, part of the issue here. Like a lot of seams will just go right through your crotch and that's where chafing is going to happen. And it doesn't bother me now, but I think that's one argument for wearing padded shorts. But if you get a padded short, that takes away the seam right where your parts are. I would still get the slimmest pad I could, which is usually like a tri short for triathlons and not necessarily a big pad for, I don't know, whatever other sport would be that tri.
Also, my understanding is people that do wear the padded shorts, they typically recommend not wearing underwear with them and just going bareback. Is that right? That's your experience?
Well, that's my experience with anything biking. Like I don't usually wear underwear. And yes, I think with padded shorts, I never wore underwear. I think that is part of the thing that makes it less chafing. Like there's less chafing, the less seams and things you have going on down there. So
and less something holding water against your body.
Right.
Okay.
What about you?
Since we're being all awkward and stuff, since men are running around with junk on the outside of their body flopping around, I am a fan of wearing underwear. I found very sheer, quick, dry, light, kind of like a Speedo, basically. It's like a bathing suit, but with very, very thin seams. Like, it's not really something you're going to go rocking at the beach because it's very sheer and all that.
I feel like you should share the brand name.
It's awesome. These are like some kind of, it had to be a Chinese knockoff, but it's called Brave Person. Again, if you rock this on the beach, you're going to get some looks because it ain't hiding much. But either way, ever since I found that brand, they last forever. They don't stretch. They dry very, very fast. I've never had a problem with any chafing, any seams. So I just love them, and I've recommended to other racers, and they've never told me that they didn't like them. But whatever you do, don't wear cotton underwear. Like that would be horrible. And don't wear anything with a large, like normal bathing suits have a large seam, and so you don't want that because a lot of times that seam is going to be right there where that seat's coming across. Okay, so now let's talk about what do I wear for my pants. Now I've got to give the Jessies. Most people know who the Jessies are, but it's Jesse Spangler and Jesse Tubb here on the East Coast. These guys are the ones that whenever they show up for the race, you go, dang it, there went first place. And so I had that meme I did with our Central Virginia Orienteering Club with that. What is it? The man that knows everything, or the most? I can't remember, the guy with the Dos Equis. And so I did a little meme, and I said, I don't always win orienteering races, but when I do, it's because Jesse Spangler was not there. So either way, the Jessies showed up to this race a while back. They had gone by Walmart and got women's capris, and they did these like purple flowered pants matching because they were a two male team, highly competitive, wearing these women's pants. And they actually were like, these things actually worked really well. I was like, yeah, this is a little awkward walking into a Walmart trying on women's pants, but whatever. Jesse said that they're good, and I'm gonna try them out. And sure enough, I did. As you guys know that listen to this podcast, you know I'm a sucker for if I can find something cheap that works, I'll do it at a moment's notice, whether it's the shoes or your pants. And so Walmart, I'll share the screen.
So you didn't feel like you needed, like permission per se to see some really great dude wrestlers, great dude racers wearing these? Would you have worn them on your own?
What I noticed is a lot of the dudes are wearing tights. So just things that are tight to your leg and black in color. Like, especially the top teams, like they always say, like, the people with the pants are the ones at the back of the pack and the people with the tights are up front, right? And so basically, if you anything above the pants in a race, usually dudes are either wearing tights, something that is leaving their knees exposed, and so they're only wearing shin guards, and then like I call them jammers. We'll get into that in a second. Or if their legs are fully covered, they're wearing men's tights that are either designed for biking or they even make tights that are made for orienteering. But either way, the reason I like these is they make them in capris. And so I'm always wearing my Moxie gaiters. My legs get hot. So the idea is that if I have capris, let's say I'm on the bike and I've got the capris, I can zip the Moxie gaiters up 3/4 of the way and let my calves kind of air out while I'm riding. I like you were saying, you put the Moxie gaiters over your tights, which that means you go through water. Now you got 2 layers holding water against your skin. It's hard to let them air out. So that's what I really like about the capris. So they're super durable. I've never, in all of the time I've been wearing these things, God, it must be 2.5, 3 years now. I wear them orienteering. I've worn them in all these expeditions. I don't think I have any of them that have got a tear in it, even though I'm running through the woods with briars. So they're super durable. They're quick dry. They're designed for athletics. So they don't get hot. Now, Walmart does have a couple different ones. They make one that's a little bit thermal and one that's designed for the active dry is what they call it, I think. So, and it's funny. Then you go, what size am I in women's pants? So me being a 6'1" male with roughly a 33-inch waistline, I wear XLs, and they're like $13. So it's like, if you went to your bike shop and say, I need some tights for an adventure race, they're going to be $85 because they have the little specialized name on it. And then you're going to tear them up to shreds and you're going to be bummed out. These things, I don't think I've ever thrown a set away. So I'm a big fan. If anybody has a better idea on something you can get for $9 that are just as just as durable, I'm open to any ideas, but I'm still a big fan. Of course, you can buy these full length if you want. Although as a dude, they don't go all the way down your ankles, so you look a little funny with high waters. But also if you want patterns, they come in camouflage, they come in all kinds of cool things. I normally just roll with black. The other thing I really, really like about this, and it sucks, I feel there's no equality in our world. Women get these cool little pockets on the side of their tights, and men don't have that. Usually, I've never bought men's tights, but this little pocket is perfect for like 100 different things, like whether it's baby wipes going to the bathroom. My favorite though is the little square. It's like 3" by 3" map tool that you use for 124 or 150 thousandths or 112 thousandths, whatever. You can get them in different sizes. The map tool fits perfectly in this little side pocket. And so when I'm messing around and I need to get a measurement tool for my map, I can just reach down, pull that out of the side pocket and do my measurement, put it right back. And it's not bulged, it doesn't stick out or anything like that. So I love it. Andrea, I think you said you were using it for your CP. I'm sorry, your what do you call it? Passport. and you were worried the passport might slip out.
Oh,
I
it did
have
slip
used it.
out.
It did
Yeah.
slip out, right?
That was, what race was that? I don't know. I was racing solo. It was quite a while ago. It was early on for sure. And that's not a good place for a passport.
Right.
And someone behind me saw it fall out of my pocket, thank goodness. And it was really early on. I think it might have been even on the prologue. So it just slipped right out. And the person behind me saw it and told me. So they saved the day. And
That saved the day.
that's the worst nightmare ever, really, is losing the
passport. So
passport.
we're a fan of putting it in a pocket with a zipper,
Yeah.
and zipping it every single time, and it always goes in the same pocket, and just don't vary from that. So I stopped putting my passport in a little pocket, but I was doing it there for a while because I had not had that experience. Yeah. But again, it's like, let's say you're on a paddle section, you're just getting in and out of the boat, and you're not really moving around bashing through the woods. I've put it in there just because I know it's not going anywhere. But yeah, if you're bushwhacking and all that, it's better to put your passport.
I wouldn't trust it. Don't ever trust it. That's why you're not the punch monkey.
Right.
You can't be trusted with, with the passport.
But either way, so I'm a big fan of these. Whatever. It's weird going to Walmart, going to the women's section and buying your pants, but it's one of them. I don't want to pay $80 for pants that potentially get shredded in a race. So okay, one other thing. Let me go ahead and do another. Let me get it queued up. I'm going to do another screen share. Again, I love Amazon. You can also get, this is TSLA men's swim jammers, athletic racing swimming shorts, trunks. They have sun protection, endurance, a triathlon swimsuit. These do not have pads. They are very light and sheer and quick dry. You can get them in different colors. I'm a big fan of these too. This would be in a situation where I am pretty positive I'm not going to be doing any bushwhacking and it's hot. Maybe it's at night, we're on the bike leg. I could see using these with the shin guards still, but this is going to be a little bit cooler than using the capris, and it is kind of nice to have these on. But again, if there's any chance I'm bushwhacking, I'm going to put the capris on. Now, I have done this before where I have the jammers on, capris are in the backpack if it's like a really long leg. And then if it either gets cold or bushwhacky, I'll put the capris on over the jammers and just go in there and bash around, do whatever I have to do. And then, it's 95 degrees at Florida sea to sea. The minute I'm done bushwhacking, I can take them off real quick and throw them back in the backpack. I'm not changing clothes. I'm just adding the capris to get through the bush and taking them right back off and putting them in the backpack, which you can do really fast.
And
so these are only $21.
If you're listening to this podcast, this would be a good time to look at it on YouTube, because the marketing for this product
yeah
is really, that's really an attractive model right there.
It is. Look at that. Yeah, that's neat. You can have them put on different things. You can even get racing stripes and all. So, yeah. This guy looks like Elvis. That's hilarious. This is like Elvis from the World War II era. And
you too would look like you have abs like this guy if you get these shorts.
Absolutely. So for $21, bump chicka bow wow. But either way, so this is my that's my setup. And of course, wool socks. That's the other thing. Like I think both of us wear wool socks, and you vary the thickness based on how cold it is, or if you. I think we talked about this in the other thing, but wear thick. Get one size shoe up, and then wear the thick socks. And if your feet swell in an expedition, you can always put on thinner socks and use the same shoe. So that's from the waist down. Which I think
we beat this to death, because she was just asking specifically about pants for the bike.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing, I'm sorry. On the bike, your legs are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and so that's between where your thighs touch is also an area where a lot of people get chafing, and so that's one other thing I like about having like tights, that your entire thigh is covered by something that's not flopping around, so you get zero chafing between your legs. But let's say, for example, if you want to be these cool people who have the mountain bike padded shorts, so you kind of look like a badass at the same time you got your little pad. I don't want the, whatever you call it, the crotch of the bike shorts to be to where my legs can touch while I'm riding for long distances, just because, any skin that's touching and going back and forth 100,000 times, you're going to get chafing. So, but yeah, usually with both of these setups, the tights that I showed and anything like it, I don't have to put any lube on any part of my body on the bottom, other than the crack where it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's going to be some chafing there in long-term stuff, but I never get any chafing on where my seat bones touch the bike, nor between my thighs.
Well, and it's just worth saying it's always best to lube before you have a problem. So
yeah, don't
lube
wait
even if you don't think you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, chafing cream is a good thing.
Yes.
I think I already said, chamois butter, but the A&D cream, that doesn't hurt. And I still like the chamois butter because it's a good consistency, but
I'm more of a fan of A&D.
Yeah.
But either way, there could be a whole podcast on what to lube your crotch with and what the pros and cons of Desitin or what's the difference
really talk. Yeah, you just can't really talk about what to wear on a bike leg if you don't talk about chafing.
Yeah.
So chafing.
Okay, so here's another quick experience share on what to wear on the bike leg and how to lube it. Don't use Desitin or anything with zinc, because you put that lube on and it comes right through your black pants and you end up with this big old white splotch of goo on the back of your shorts. It's disgusting. And nobody wants to walk behind you or ride behind you and look at your butt with a big whole thing of white Desitin goo. It's gross. So use A&D. It's clear. The chamois butter doesn't penetrate through, but I'm not putting Desitin on my crotch anymore.
I kind of like the consistency of Desitin once it's already on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does come through. And though, if it's that or nothing, I'll go with that.
Racing is gross enough just to look at somebody's crotch with just the white goo coming out. Because a lot of people put like a whole handful on. They got like a whole ice cream cone back there sloshing around. Like, no, I don't want all that white stuff coming through. So whatever. But hey, you do you. I want to be ready for the photo at the finish line. Call me vain. So, yeah. Okay. So I think we covered biking, clothing for long races. I think we covered that. So that was a really good question. We got into the details. So, okay. So we've got a question, which I think is more of a joke, but we're going to turn it into a question and take it very seriously, because I'm sure the author intended this to be a very serious question.
He's a very serious person.
He's a very serious person. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your favorite part of Endless Mountains, and why was it meeting Bill Donahue in person? He answered his own question.
Well, guess who asked the question? And we didn't say.
Right. Bill Donahue, or at least I think it's Bill Donahue, because it just came through as a number. I didn't have a name, but I'm pretty sure it was Bill being funny. Because he's a funny guy. So this is Wild Bill, Okay, so let's elaborate onto that. We did do a whole podcast on a Race Ramble about the pros and cons of Endless Mountains and our experience.
We did two race rambles.
Yeah, we did two
for each of our teams.
And on the second time, we beat your team. So there's a whole thing about that too. But
well, then we've got 3 race rambles. No, we didn't have a podcast the first time you did it.
No, we did.
So there are two race rambles.
And we have videos. We have videos from each of those races. So if you're interested in doing Endless Mountains, which we highly suggest doing this race, go back and watch the videos from the last 2 years, and you'll see what our experience was like. They're not doing it in 2024, but I think they're going to jump it to 2025. That'll be the next time that they pull that race off. I think they're on sabbatical coming up.
And so why was meeting Bill Donahue in person the highlight of Endless Mountains?
So let's talk specifically about Bill. What didn't you work with him on Endless Mountains for the commentary the first year?
Yeah, so I may have met him in person another time ago, maybe, or just at a distance. I don't know, but I really think it was the first time I met him in person. And the year before, when you were racing Endless Mountains and I was at home, I did a little bit of the media with him, and he was on the podcast with J.S. O'Connor. And then I saw him at Endless Mountains when we did it just this last time. And I commented that I think it was the first time I'd met Wild Bill in person. And it struck me how tall that dude is. He's tall. So yeah, it was a highlight. That's why it was a highlight, because it surprised me. You know, people can look different on screen than they do in real life. And but also though, he's very nice. So he was just as nice in person. Another reason it was a highlight. What about you?
Same thing. It's I've met Bill a few times in person, but I've also been on panels with him before and all that. He's very experienced and articulate, and provides great commentary if he's watching a race of what's going through the racers' minds and all that kind of stuff. But also he's always nice and friendly, so it's always fun to cross paths with him on the trail during the race or whatever, right before the race. So like you with Endless Mountains, I think it was like right before Jesse was doing the trumpet. I think get ready for the start line. And there's Bill. It's always fun to come over there and say hi. You know me, I want to talk to everybody. So I guess we should extrapolate the question a little bit more to just basically one of the best parts of adventure racing, I think, is the community. And the more you do the races, you start seeing the same faces. And if you make these connections, whether people from online presence and you're all excited to meet them in person, or you hang out before the race or after the race, or maybe you get to race with people from time to time. And then so you get back to a race and you see somebody you raced with 4 years ago and it's all hugs and high fives. This community is just so amazing. And so I know he was kind of joking with that, but it is a highlight of the race to see Bill there and all the other kind of well-known people in our sport, because there's such a small sport. There's a lot of people that are well-known. So it's always neat to see these quasi-celebrities. And I'll share another experience real quick, because just another person I'm always excited to see is Randy Erickson. And so, for example, like when we started racing, we were listening to Randy's podcast, and it was like, wow, we're learning everything we need to know about adventure racing and then some. And then you get to like meet him. You're like, holy crap, that's Randy Erickson. Like, that's so amazing. So I was kind of starstruck and had a little bromance. And so over the years, we've been on his podcast before, and I've seen him at every Florida C2C, and it comes to a lot of the races and does photography and video, which we really appreciate. But then just a few months ago, I was out west, and we were doing Yellowstone out of the van, and he was like, "Hey, stop by South Dakota on your way back. You can park in the driveway and we can hang out." And so I got a chance to like walk into Randy's house, and you finally like met Paulette in person long enough that we could talk, and the birds are squawking in the background, which I've cussed those birds out 26 times on his podcast, but here they are in person. They're not so bad. And his dog Chili is there, and he's always talking about going on the trails that he is in his backyard on the podcast. And there I am mountain biking those trails. So it was just super fun experience, and it just goes back that this community of adventure racing is really, really fun. So anybody that's listening to this, if you're new to it, I know you don't know all these people or maybe not met them, but just stick with it a while. You'll start seeing some of these common faces. And
yeah, I was gonna say something about that too. Like, if you're new to the sport and you don't relate to this yet, you will. I just know you will, because I think back to when we did one of the first few C2Cs, and now they're called Misguided, but Al and Cody and Jason, I feel like we saw them multiple years in a row, and every time I would ask their name and hear their story, and then it would dawn on me that I had done that same thing the year prior. Like, it might have taken me 3 years to be like, I know these guys now.
Right.
But I was excited to see every time everyone's welcoming. So they didn't, make fun of me too much for introducing myself again.
and like with them, like we're so matched as a team. Like no matter what race we're in, we end up side by side with them half the time, working together, even though we're in competition. Yeah. So that those are the people you really get to know. If you're there, walking on a trek leg or working on CPs together, all of a sudden it's like people start sticking in your brain, because you become friends because you've been through an experience together, you've chatted and all this stuff. So it's a lot of fun. But either way, some of the AR celebrities are just really fun to see. And so just specifically, TA1 is the name of Randy's podcast. It's on I think it's Podcast-O-Matic or Podcast Addict. I can't remember. Shit.
I don't know. I listen to it on Apple Podcasts.
But, yeah. But also like Brian Gatens from the Dark Zone, like he comes to these races all the time. Totally. If you listen to Dark Zone and you're starstruck, walk up and say hi to Brian. He's a super nice guy in person. He's a normal guy, even though he's like a celebrity. And then Jason with the Ben Racing podcast, he's got a thing on there. Totally talk to Jason. Don't be scared. Go up. These people are just like us. They're just amazing,
And
and they share their
you
story.
can't leave out,
And
you can't
Burf
leave out,
Barf!
yeah, you can't leave out Burf Barf. Annie and
Yeah.
Lauren are very approachable too.
Totally. Amazing podcast. So definitely check out Burf Barf. And I'm sure we're missing some, but basically it's like these are some of the celebrities in our sport. But it's neat because how often you get to come to an event and you walk up to these celebrities and they're there and they're friendly. You can't do that in golf or anything else, but it's just really neat. So
actually with Wild Bill, I think I recognized his voice first, and I looked over, I'm like, oh, that's the guy.
Yep. Everybody looks different than they do on YouTube when they get in person. They got their bike helmet and all their kid on. It's like, whoa, is that the same
Yeah,
person?
that's another problem. I recognize people better when they've got their race gear on than in regular everyday clothes. Anyway.
Yep. All right. So that's hopefully the answer to Bill Donahue's question. So
cool. Yeah, thanks for asking it.
Yep. Okay.
And
so
thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Keep dropping the questions in the on the mailbag, and we're happy to try our best to answer them.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. Please take a moment to leave a rating and a comment.
If you have a question for the next mailbag segment, call 757-354-4795 and leave us a voicemail or a text with your name, city you are calling from, and your question.
To find additional content, including the video versions of these discussions, you can search for Disability Racing on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
We hope this podcast inspired you to focus on your abilities and plan your next adventure.
See you on the trail.